The disrespect is crazy. Whether it's these players burned you last year, you tried to draft them and it didn't work out. Maybe you believe there's a young guy or a new player in town that's going to take away their opportunities. And I'm just going to keep it simple. You need to stop fading these players in your fantasy football drafts. Roll the intro. Already have spoken about this player, but even since the last time I talked about him, I feel like there's even more hype around his name. And that's DJ Moore, the wide receiver of the Chicago Bears. I know it's the Chicago Bears. I know Caleb Williams is the quarterback, and there's definitely mixed opinions on whether you think he's got it or not. But I don't think we're fading him in terms of his offensive situation and where he's going to be. I think this is more of we're simply getting DJ Moore at a better discount than we are getting for Rome Odunze. Normally in fantasy, I myself like to buy in on some of the wide receiver twos in an offense and hope that they either outperform or perform just as good as the person who took the wide receiver 1 rounds earlier. But what's interesting about DJ Moore is that he's definitely going to have more targets than Rome Odunze. If they're both healthy, DJ Moore will definitely finish the season with more targets than him. DJ Moore has rushing upside that he's always shown in his career. We have a potential with Ben Johnson to actually tap in and unlock that potential of DJ Moore as that wide back like we've seen with Deebo Samuel in a Kyle Shanahan system. We're drafting him at wide receiver 23 on Underdog, and I just think that's way too cheap to be getting a wide receiver 1 in an offense where he's going to lead the team in targets. They're going to be trailing in a lot of these games and have to throw the ball. So again, another opportunity for DJ Moore and the rushing upside. But it seems like a lot more people are happier grabbing Rome Odunze at wide receiver 33 than they are DJ Moore at wide receiver 23. And it's not that I'm not a fan of Rome Odunze's game. I just think we need to understand and take a step back and realize DJ Moore can be utilized in more ways than Rome Odunze can. DJ Moore is going to have more targets than Rome Odunze realistically. And I would bet DJ Moore also has more red zone targets than Rome Odunze, as DJ Moore was 9th amongst all wide receivers last year in that category. So I'm getting the wide receiver 1 for the Chicago Bears in a range with other questionable maybe wide receiver 1s or legitimate wide receiver 2s. Stop fading DJ Moore, you knuckleheads. Let's stay on the wide receiver topic. Another player we've spoken about. The ADP has not changed, and at this point this is more so me just raging to you guys, and I just want to know genuinely, why are we not drafting Jakobi Meyers any sooner than wide receiver 40 on Underdog? The disrespect is crazy. I'm just not buying that Jakobi Meyers is the 40th best wide receiver in fantasy this year with an upgrade of overall roster, an upgrade at coach, and an upgrade at quarterback. We're going to expect Jakobi Meyers to go from wide receiver 19 a year ago to not even in the top 35 wide receivers. That's mind-boggling. That doesn't even make sense. Sure, he's not the number 1 target in the Vegas Raiders offense, being that Brock Bowers is there and he's just built different. And I see it on ranking websites and other platforms. After a certain amount of time, we just give people the respect that they deserve in the rankings. For example, James Conner does it year over year. Maybe they don't believe he's going to be a top 20-25 guy, but statistically he does it year over year when he's healthy, so you have to put him there. David Montgomery, another example. These are just reliable guys that always find their ranking right where their finishes every single season because they do it year over year. Not saying anything bad about that. It's great. But my guy Jakobi Meyers over the last 4 seasons, he's never finished worse than wide receiver 29. And we're not even going to rank him near the top 30 wide receivers. That's disrespectful. That really is. And lucky for you guys at home, if you've been watching my videos all off season, you know that I think Jakobi Meyers is a smash draft pick. You're going to draft Jakobi Meyers and hopefully win your fantasy league because you did that. And then maybe you'll subscribe. Now we have to talk running backs. This running back, maybe not a guy where fading. It's hard to figure out which running back is considered really somebody we're fading. There's not that many really compared to wide receivers in terms of the productive ones. But coming off the board at RB46 on Underdog, and that's Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nothing was pretty or exciting about his RB36 finish last year. He did legitimately beat out Travis Etienne for the starting job, and that does mean something going into the year. Yes, drafting Bashal Tutin also means something, and maybe means something even greater greater than what I'm trying to present. Tank Bigsby should be assumed the starter, and if he's not the starter, you can absolutely guarantee that he's going to be the goal line back for the Jaguars. He really didn't have starter numbers. He didn't really even play 45% of the team's snaps all year. In his complementary role in an offense where their game script was terrible, they were trailing all of the time, they never really had that opportunity to run the ball with a lead late in games. You still had Tank Bigsby finish as the RB36, and now we have to factor in 2025. This team should be better. I assume this team will score more touchdowns. If they're going to make more trips to the red zone, that's more touchdowns for your Tank Bigsby draft pick. That costed you basically nothing. I did want to draft Travis Etienne all offseason. I still will buy him at the cheap. However, I'm not saying that Travis Etienne is cooked. There is a role for Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne to have their way in fantasy, where they can be contributors. Travis Etienne is more of a pass-catching back, so he can make explosive plays that way, while Tank Bigsby is just a runner in between the tackles. These styles do complement each other, and that's another reason why I think Tank Bigsby is not going anywhere. Thus, we should stop fading him in fantasy. Maybe you'll consider this a cop-out. I hope you won't. I think it just warrants a legit conversation. Stop fading Christian McCaffrey in the first round. I get it. You've drafted him before. He didn't play. You feel like he lost you your season. Guess what? That's just part of the Christian McCaffrey lottery you play. When you draft this player, you can have a top 2 running back in fantasy if he plays 15, 16 games. But if he doesn't, it's an absolute waste of a pick. And despite not being a sure thing, the only player in fantasy football that could either be the absolute best guaranteed at a position or hit rock bottom for you is only Christian McCaffrey. Most players have ranges of outcomes where they can be the best, be the second best. You get the point. Be top 10. For Christian McCaffrey, it's either the cream of the crop or you get nothing out of it. And taking that risk of getting the absolute most out of something is going to help you win a fantasy football league at the end of the day. If we take his rookie season out of this, where he finished as the RB10 overall, very impressive. In seasons where he played double-digit games, he literally finished as RB1 or RB2 overall. So talk about the range of outcomes you have. You have 2 outcomes. You have the best or the thorn in your side. Those are your 2 options. I'm not going to say fade him, but I'm going to say you can only get that opportunity out of Christian McCaffrey. And what kind of video would this be if I left the tight end position out of it? Stop fading Zach Ertz in fantasy, guys. You could tell me it was a fluke of a season. You could tell me he's old, he's washed. But I'm going to tell you, last year he finished as the tight end 8. And when he has good quarterback play in his career, he usually finishes as a top 10 tight end in fantasy football. He's also one of those guys that breaks that mold of year-over-year finishes from the tight end spot. He's one of those, the George Kittles, the Travis Kelce's, the anomaly guys. So I would honestly bet on him to be an anomaly again. Yeah, they added Deebo Samuel. Maybe Terry McLaurin gets traded. Probably not. Maybe Terry McLaurin doesn't have as good of a season as he did last year. Probably the case. The truth about the tight end position, they age like fine wine. There's really no reason to fade the veteran tight end who's already shown you year over year I can produce and repeat top 10 numbers. Let's move on to the last player, or maybe I should say players we should stop fading. We need to stop fading the late round quarterbacks, and I'm more specifically talking about guys like Tua Tagovailoa, Geno Smith, and CJ Stroud. Not even the guys floating right outside of the top 12. I'm talking about those 15 to 25 quarterback guys. Stop fading them. I'm just never someone that believes in taking a quarterback early. A lot of these players we rank and project to be great quarterbacks in a season, i.e. Anthony Richardson a year ago. There's so many ways where it could go bad for you. Whereas that round 5, round 6 pick you got, you take a wide receiver and he's either going to be mid or amazing. Let's talk about these 3 quarterbacks specifically though. What do they all have in common? They all have, when they are healthy, an elite asset in fantasy. We're talking about one of the 10, 15 best players in fantasy. We're talking about Tyreek Hill. We're talking about Nico Collins. And we're talking Brock Bowers. Those are elite players. If any of those players are going to have a top season that we expect them to have, maybe some don't expect Tyreek Hill to do it. It's in the range of outcomes though. If they're going to have their amazing seasons we think they're going to have, a ton of touchdowns, a ton of yards, who do you think's getting them that? All 3 of these quarterbacks, despite not doing it last year, have been top top 10, top 12 quarterbacks in the past. And normally, about 4 to 6 of the top 12 quarterbacks aren't going to carry over that QB1 finish. So why are we assuming players that have done it before but fell out of that QB1 status aren't going to fall back into it, given that their players are healthy and everything around them is clicking? Geno Smith is reunited with Pete Carroll, who he had his best fantasy QB season with. He's got playmakers, Brock Bowers, Jakobi Meyers, Ashton Jeanty. This is not going to be a bad offense. Geno's gonna have to drive this bus. For CJ Stroud, maybe I think this could be the most far out one, considering he's got no O-line. Maybe he doesn't have a running back or a running back game that they can rely on, which also is gonna hurt. But boy, the kid's got weapons. I mean, they just drafted 2 wide receivers for him. They have Nico Collins. If they're gonna be a middling team or somebody that you think can win 8-9 games, probably gonna be trailing in those games, probably gonna be throwing. I think this is a great opportunity for CJ Stroud to bounce back into the QB1 range, and I feel the same way goes for Tua, as long as he just stays healthy. Tua, when he came back last year from injury, no, it didn't feel like a great season. He had weeks where he put up phenomenal numbers. He's coming off the board at QB 22 on Underdog, and if you think that's a fair place to rank him, then you would be assuming that Tua Tagovailoa is only going to play 11 games, get really injured in one of them early on in the season, and then he's going to come back and throw less than 3,000 passing yards and 20 touchdowns. That probably doesn't sound realistic to happen again. It's not a sexy pick, but in 10 of the games that he was healthy in after he came back from injury last year, so half of his games he's putting up QB1 numbers. If you don't want that as your first quarterback, at least draft him as your backup guy. You can get spot starts out of him that could keep you from losing a week. And even though we're taking him outside the top 20 quarterbacks, the last 2 seasons that Tua was healthy for, he was a top 15 quarterback in each one of them. You have to think you're drafting him at his floor, and all of the risk of his injury is already factored in at this price. That's gonna wrap it up for this video. Covered plenty of names that yes you, I'm talking to you need to stop fading these players in fantasy. If you're new here, you like fantasy football content, make sure you subscribe down below. It doesn't cost you a thing and would make my absolute day. Outlier Militia, you already know what to do. Smash that like button for your boy. And if you want to join Outlier Militia, all you gotta do is subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video. Wow, you stuck to the end of this video. Thank you so much. If you're new here, make sure you check out one of these videos on the screen right now. And don't forget, before you leave, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any fantasy football videos on this channel. And that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.